Welcome to the SunPumps Do-It-Yourself videos. I'm Joe Lines, and today we will be installing one of our SCS series brushless DC submersible pumps. What we're doing here is we're using the sounder to go ahead and check the static water level inside the well. You'll notice right there the meter's pegged out, and you'll hear the beeping. That's when you hit the water level. And then once you have that static water level, you're going to go ahead and go clear down to the bottom and determine, usually that you can tell by feel until you get on a real deep well like that, and then you just pick it up and read your measurement. The other method is the Coke bottle method. You want to tie that off real good, drop that down, you'll hear it splash and hit the water, you'll feel the load in your hand kind of go away. Double check, make sure that you're actually there, tie a knot in your string, and then go ahead and you'll have to bob it up and down several times to get it to fill with water, and then to go ahead and sink. And there again, you'll know by touch. And there you see it going right down the well. Once you hit the bottom, you'll pretty much stop and you won't feel anymore. Pull the slack out of it, tie a knot in it, and the next step will be to go ahead and pull that up and measure your distances. So we've just got a 100-foot tape measure, going to roll it out and measure it away. So here we have the very bottom of the well. The bottom of the well was around 99 feet. And then 45 foot was a static. Next, we're going to take the poly pipe and go ahead and roll that out all the way. We're now measuring approximately 90 feet, trimming it up. We don't want the pump sitting on the bottom of the well. We're taking the poly made adapter, which has threads and a slight taper. The trick on this, the main thing is just get it started straight. Once you get it started straight, then you're going to go ahead and take pipe wrenches and tighten that down until you can't tighten it anymore. And then you'll also be able to visually inspect inside that to verify how deep you are on your threads. You can see there we're probably about 3/4 of the way. Next thing, we're going to be inserting what we call the fitting kit, or the fittings, through the well seal and attaching it to the pipe. These are all just hand tight, and then we go ahead and tighten them down with wrenches. If you already have your fitting installed for your electrical, depending on the type of water type connection or whichever connection you're going to use would depend on if you install a fitting at this point or later on, as we show that we've installed a different fitting later on. Next, we're going to go ahead and actually attach it to the drop pipe. And get that tight as well. Then we're going to install an eye bolt, and this is what the safety rope will hang from. We'll go ahead and take and insert that through, and then use 2 nuts and tighten them down just to the very top. And then what we're going to do is what we call jam nut, or tighten the 2 nuts back against themselves so they can't come undone, and you don't have to worry about it falling loose or pulling through, or somebody inadvertently losing your safety rope down the well. Next, we're going to string the rope out back down, and we're going to go ahead and attach the pump to the poly pipe, as well as go ahead and splice the wire on. So we're stripping the wire back, putting the crimp ends on, and then the main thing you want to make sure you never do is don't ever forget to put your heat shrinks on. So make sure that you got the heat shrinks in place, and then go ahead and start the crimping. And you want to make sure that you're getting the correct color coding. So black to black, yellow to yellow, red to red, and green to green. Then we're going to go ahead and heat the individual splices on this. Once you start doing this, you want to heat from the middle out, and you'll see the shrink kind of goes from the middle out. It's filled with a silicone heat shrink. If you do catch it on fire, just back the heat away, blow out the flame, and you can see the silicone sealant. So we go ahead and repeat the process for each one of these. You can also do all of them at once if you're skilled at it. You want to take a wet rag after that, and you want to go ahead and cool those shrinks so that they become hard and they don't slide around, and that also keeps them from shorting out between each other. Once you have those all cooled down, then you just want to go ahead and use electrical black tape to go ahead and just cover them just as a protection, and it's not necessarily waterproofing anything, but it just keeps them protected from dragging as you're inserting them back down the well casing, and keeps you from having potential nicks and cuts in the splice or in the wires also. Once we get it taped, the next step is going to be to go ahead and get everything attached. We're going to put on the safety rope. We're going to tie a bowline knot on that. Once we have that, the best thing to do is actually go back and tape that with the electrical tape to keep it from coming loose. Then we're going to go ahead and secure that to the drop pipe with the wire using our 10 mil pipe wrap. That secures everything, also keeps it from being nicked or damaged during installation. Yeah. Then we're going to go ahead and tape it about every 10 feet.
We don't normally do it that way. I'd rather do it from here.
And then you want to go from the bottom back up towards the top. That way you're taking all the slack out of your wires and your rope. And we'll just be taping it every 10 feet all the way up. 1 to 2 wraps is usually sufficient. Here we're going to be attaching the safety rope at the other end using a bowline knot also, and repeating the same process. This is always the fun part. Use the electrical tape to secure it. Then we're going to feed the electrical wire up and through. Go ahead and secure the last couple of feet. We're ready to insert the pump down the hole. So you want to pick the pump up, get it started right down the hole, nice and straight. Try not to drag it on the edge too much. And once you get it going, gravity takes effect and bring it right in the last little bit. Going to go ahead and tighten up the well seal. That's compressing the rubber out to keep all the little critters and other things out of your well. This is where you would attach your plumbing fittings. We're just for the installation here, we're showing just attaching a 1.25 inch nipple. Next, we're going to go ahead and install the watertight fitting and measure the length for our electrical to put inside the junction box. So we'll go ahead and strip the wires back. Be careful not to nick the wires, which will cause shorting or potential problems. We're going to go ahead and strip the insulation clear back so that we can get it through our seal tight fittings much easier. You may need to tape the end of your fittings to get them to go through your seal tight. We're installing the liquid tight strain relief fitting there. Once that's installed, then go ahead and finish putting your conduit over to the junction box. Then we're going to go ahead and make our connections inside the weatherproof junction box. Go ahead and strip the ends back and then go ahead and connect them with wire nuts. Once again, make sure that you get your color coding correct. Next, we're going to go ahead and insert a ground rod for grounding purposes. And install the pump controller. This particular controller is the PCA 120. The grounding terminals on this are in a different location than the PCC controllers, but we'll go ahead and go through this particular one first. Go ahead and strip your wires back. If you have crimp terminal ends, go ahead and install those. We're going to connect the grounds as we only have 2 terminals, and we have a couple 3 grounds that needed to be land there, so we're going to connect all those with the wire nut. The controller itself is also color coded, so red to red, yellow to yellow, black to black, and green to green. And those are your pump wires. Make sure you get a good connection there, tighten them down. Don't over tighten them. You can break the terminals or strip your screws out also. On this particular installation, we're also going to use a combiner box. This allows you to be able to run your panels in series or in parallel. This particular job, we are running all 4 of the panels in series. So we will just have 1 breaker on this installation. And this is going to be the PV wires coming in from the solar panels landed on the control box on the PV negative and PV positive. And this is the ground from the solar panels. They'll be connected with the rest of the grounds. Next, we're going to attach the solar panel wires, positive and negative. Now we're going to hook up the solar panel interconnect, just checking to make sure that there's no dirt or dust in them. We're going to land these inside the combiner as well as on the breaker. Make sure don't hook this up to your solar panels prior to this point, as electrocution would be inevitable almost. This is the negative bus bar that we're going to be combining on. Connecting the ground on the other bus bar. Installing the DIN rail breaker. It's just a little bit taller than what I could see. You want to make sure that you get all your wires in on the breaker and that there are not any strays, so sometimes if you can't see it, it may be a good idea to remove the breaker and then attach the wires to it. Next, we're going to go ahead and hook up the interconnect to the solar panels and test our voltages. We're wiring these in series, so between your panels you'll be positive and negative, and this just shows you how much power is there and available, so it can shock you and hurt you. Next, we want to double check our voltages before we hook anything up. In series on these, we're about a 37 open circuit volts per panel. So once we have that, that is correct for this setup. We will be running around 120 volts. Here again, we're just testing on the top side to verify our voltages before we turn the breaker on. If you are over voltage, you can damage the controller, and that's why we want to double check and make sure we always have correct voltage before we ever hook anything up. We do see that we have the blue light indicating the power is in. We're also going to double check, make sure our voltage is correct and that polarity is correct, and then turn the unit on, and out comes glorious water.
Like I said,
Next, we're going to show the motor speed control. As you adjust this, it's about a 15 turn pot. So as you turn it, it's going to slow down, lower the voltage actually going to the motor. So you're able to go through and set this. This is also how you're going to set your low water cutoff function, or low power also. So in the event that you don't have enough sunlight outside, you would go ahead and slow it clear down to the lowest setting, and then turn your low power adjust until the unit turns off, and then go back through the procedure of setting it back to full output and leave the low power adjust where it's at. You also want to secure all of your wires up, get them out of the way so that they're not dangling or being caught on anything. We're also going to show you the float switch circuitry. This would just be simulation of installing it inside of a tank or any other type of reservoir. There's two different functions on this, normally open and normally closed. We have a reverse logic so that you can change from a normally open to a normally closed setting, or a pump up versus a pump down scenario on the float switch. There's also a slight delay. There's about a 1 minute timer from these turning off and on. Or, excuse me, about a 1 minute delay from the time that the unit turns off until it will turn back on.
So normally that would be just dangling in a tank?
Yeah. There you have it, showing that it's running the float switch in the up position. You can see the light coming down, saying that it's in the float switch, remote switch alarm. As it comes back down, you'll see that go away after the timer's gone, and then it will start to run and pump again. Then you have the reverse logic of this by putting switch number 1 in the up position.
That's number 1.
Yep, I lied to you.
Okay.
So now you can see that it's in the reverse, and then I'm going to bring this up. For sake of time, we just reset the unit to show you. Drop it down, and you'll see that it shuts off once it starts running.
You don't need to wait for it to start running.
Well, I do. Let it come on, show the MPPT, and then I'll drop it.
Okay.
It'll come on here. It won't take a minute.
What's MPPT?
Maximum PowerPoint tracking. Okay. It'll be on in just a second. Here we're just showing you another view that with the pump float switch in the up position simulating a full tank, that it shuts off. And in the down position, it'll come back on and run. And there you have it. Another beautiful installation.